And now I'll come to the final question before we end today's conversation. And this is a question that I ask all the guests who've been on the show so far. And that question is, would you like to give us some books and movie recommendations that you find, that you feel our viewers who are law students and lawyers might find interesting?
Yeah, so having seen a couple of episodes of your podcast, I was actually prepared for this question. And I knew that I'm not going to be able to come up with a list from top of my head. So I actually made a list
Wow, that's great.
for this purpose. So the books that I would recommend, so the kind of books that I read primarily nonfiction. I have, let's say I've switched to primarily reading nonfiction, at least in English. In my native tongue, I continue to read a lot of other stuff. I'm very into autobiographies. So currently I'm reading Amartya Sen's Home in the World, which is sitting on my shelf. I love Fali Nariman's Before Memory Fades, Roses in December. I love Justice Khanna. So Justice Khanna's biography, which my brother gave me as a birthday present, I remember, it was a great book, but it's slightly boring in parts because it has lots of details about, official visits and meetings and things. But if you skip those and, just go back to the history and to his experiences of, going through the different levels of the court, I think it's a fascinating read. Must read books, absolutely on top of my must read list is the Constitution. And this, some people find a little funny, but it's true that very few of us actually have ended up reading the Constitution from cover to cover. And that's something that a senior of mine had advised me about, and it's held me in very good stead, because flashes come back to you when you're just thinking, because you end up reading only parts of the Constitution which you're interested in. You have an instrumentalist desire to read that because, okay, this leads to a paper, this leads to a moot argument, etc. But sometimes you get flashes of another part of the Constitution which you would not have considered normally. And that's really helpful. The other thing is that it also gives you a holistic picture of how the document is. Like, you start thinking of the document not as its parts, not as a sum of its parts, but as a whole, which is, I think, very interesting. It was very interesting to realize that post having read it for me. While we're on the subject of the Constitution, definitely the two books by Granville Austin. I don't think on those subjects better books have been written, to be honest. So while I know there's a lot of talk about how he's a journalist and not a lawyer, I really think it's a political scientist and not a lawyer and all of that. The fact of the matter is that I don't think anybody's gone to greater depths in those issues. Of course, people are writing amazing books even now. I think Madhav Khosla came up with In a Founding Moment, which I'm yet to read. But till to the best of my understanding, there isn't anything better right now. On books in my subject area, for instance, there's obviously The Age of Surveillance Capitalism by Shoshana Zuboff, who I was very lucky to be part of a lecture of. I mean, she came here for a lecture in a course I was taking. And Zuboff's book, of course, completely redefines the way we think about the digital age, especially for those of us who are not actually part and parcel of a daily conversation on this issue. So not everybody needs to be interested in tech, but this is a book for everyone. And I think an understanding of the digital age is important, especially considering the way we're headed. A couple of other books that I found very important to, as an individual, things that impacted me. One was P. Sainath's Everyone Loves Good Drought, because I remember reading that book when I was still in, I think, third year of college, and it completely blew my mind. It was just a completely different side of the country I had not seen. It's not like I wasn't aware of it, but being told of it in the way that he did, I think was phenomenal. And ever since I've, had the opportunity to do some little bit of work with his organization, fabulous, absolutely. Of course, the discovery of India, because, to know what the nation was once and what it has become now, and that transition and how it was from the eyes of somebody who kind of knew that he's going to play an important role in it. So Discovery of India was one of the favorite things that I read. And the other thing a friend suggested a few years ago, the book existed for a while, I had just not read it myself. A friend of mine suggested a few years ago James Scott, Seeing Like a State. Right? Seeing Like a State is this incredible book I don't want to tell you anything about, because it's just it's absolutely mind-blowing.
I mean, the title is so exciting.
Yes, it is. So so he gave me a small example and he said, go read this book. And I remember I didn't have a copy, so I asked another friend for a PDF, and he sent me the PDF, and I think I read it in 3 days.
Wow.
It was just like I stopped working in 3 days. It was mind blowing. I really liked it. So yeah, I mean, these are the books I would suggest that everybody does read, because especially because we have, I think, two things that every lawyer, I feel, or at least every law student uh, should kind of get an idea about, is what your country is all about, or at least whatever part of it they're going to touch. So what that, and the other is to look at the state apparatus, because when I read legal writing nowadays, a lot of it is about, okay, let's find a solution to this X problem. But sometimes it's just about describing the process. It's about just finding out what things are really like. And I see a lot of that scholarship happening here, that people are just describing, okay, how does this thing work, what is this thing actually. So I think it just makes sense to know what the state is like. It's very important to know what your country is like. So these are good perspectives. Of course, these are not the only perspectives, but these are good perspectives. Movies. I watch a lot of Tamil cinema. I watch a lot of Bengali cinema also, but that's kind of superfluous here. But I watch a lot of cinema. Watch everything that Sham Benegal makes, Govind Nihalani makes made. Manthan, Ankur, Drokal, Akrosh, everything basically, till Well Done Abba, and maybe skip Dave, but apart from that, everything else, yeah. Definitely watch, and this is something that I've shared with a lot of people. People talk about the partition in various ways. People talk about that period in our history in many ways. Definitely watch Tamas, right? It's the series that Govind Nihalani made of Bhishma Sahni's novel, and it's fantastic. You should definitely watch Tamas, and also watch Samvidhan. Also watch Bharat Ek Khoj, if you can get it on YouTube. I think you will be able to get it. So all of these are pretty easy to find that way. Definitely. I mean, don't skip reading Discovery of India to watch Bharat Ek Khoj. That's not the great way, that's not a great way of going about it. But maybe do both. But yeah, I mean, these are some of the things that I could think of.